the Podski with John Baker. For over 1 year, the revolutionary force in audio entertainment.
Ooh, yeah!
Brother,
Let me talk to you! Freak out, freak out!
I just had an out-of-body experience!
Insane in the membrane!
Brother,
Yeah! And I'm here for only one reason, and that's to take it to the limit, yeah!
somebody stop the damn man!
I'm living on the edge.
Who is your daddy?
Hello and welcome to the Podski. I am your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, Johnny Bake Show, episode 65. We got a packed show today. We're going to be talking about the PWI 500, and that's going to dovetail into the Podski 100. And we got The Rock returning to Smackdown last week, and we're going to do a retrospective on Unforgiven 2003. And we got the regular crew. We got Justin Andretti in here right now. We got Teddy Mongoose, who's going to be doing a run-in a little bit later. But what's going on? What's going on, Andretti?
I didn't know Kevin Duckworth died. I know we were talking about the Portland Trailblazers team from the early 90s in the group chat. Duckworth died 15 years ago, man. I had no idea that happened.
I don't even know who that is. The only Trailblazers.
He was awesome. Him and Drexler and Porter were like my favorite team when I was a kid. And Duckworth was probably my favorite player on that team. What's he got here? 2-time NBA All-Star, NBA Most Improved Player. Played for a couple teams. Most notably the Blazers. Second-round pick, Eastern Illinois. Yeah, man. 15 years ago, that guy died of heart failure. He was only 44 years old. That's scary.
That is scary. The only Trailblazer I care about right now is Dame Lillard, and if the Heat don't get Dame, then fuck the NBA.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, we had a good show last week. We had Hot Shots Wrestling Alliance, so go check that out on YouTube. And if you're checking us out today here, we're gonna have supplemental stuff here on YouTube as well, so check that out too. But we can just jump right in here.
Well, I wanted to plug too. Me and Mongoose are cooking up something special for a supplemental show that's going to be coming up. We're going to try to get it done by the end of the month. So right now we're recording this on the 19th. So I've got about 11 days to put this together, but it's going to be a lot of work on my end. It's going to be not very much work on his end, but I've got to do a lot of work to get it going. It's going to be fantastic. And I've got something cooking for a Halloween show for Andretti AD that I think is going to be badass too. But I'm going to ask you publicly here because I didn't get a chance to do it while we were working today and before we were getting recording here. But I need you to be a sideline reporter for a football game for an upcoming show. Are you willing to do that?
I can do that.
I'm not going to give you any more details.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's going to be awesome.
I hope that I can be a legitimate sideline reporter and the camera cuts to me and I'm legitimately standing with a.
Well, won't be any camera, but there will be audio. So you're going to be a sideline reporter for a football game that's going to be coming up, and I think you're going to do a great job.
Perfect.
You're the man for the job, Baker. You're the guy for it.
But yeah, I can't wait to talk about this with you. And this is something that we're going to jump right in right away. We're going to jump into the PWI 500. And you are quite salty about this. So if you are unaware of what the PWI 500 is, the PWI 500 is a yearly list that comes out from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It is a list of the top 500 wrestlers, and they've been doing this for decades.
79, I think, was the first one, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a long ass time. And they came out with their list last week. So if you're watching along on YouTube right now, you will see the 1 to 100 right now on your screen. So there's the top 100, not to be confused with the Podski 100 that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but want to get your thoughts on this PWI 500.
Look, man, I don't know where to start with it because over the weekend, when you and me and the Mongoose and JC and Winners and and Bricks were all talking this weekend, everybody was pretty hot about this list. And, I got really hot about it because there's a lot of people on there. The vast majority of those people are people that I'm very familiar with. And look, I'm not going to act like I know everybody that's on that 500, because there's guys on there that I'm not super familiar with that are in, obscure indies that I just haven't seen too much of, or and whatnot. But when it comes to like the luchas and the Japanese guys and things like that, I mean, those are all people that I'm really mostly really familiar with. I've seen work, a lot of times, especially over the past year. And I got really hot, man. There were fundamentally some things about how they put the list together that got me really hot. And when we were talking this weekend, and I didn't even want to look at it. I mean, I literally went to Disneyland with my wife and her, her family with the in-laws and everybody on Saturday. And I tried my best not to even open the link, because you guys were already talking about the 500 and I knew I was going to get pissed off. But the thing about the 500 is, it's a Pennsylvania thing. I mean, Pro Wrestling Illustrated is based out of PA, and you try not to, shit all over the people back home in your native homeland. But
is that serious? I had no idea that's where that's at.
Yeah, it's a Pennsylvania thing. So their headquarters is in Central PA, I believe. I forget where, but every year, man, when this thing would come out, it was treated like it was a big deal. And it was treated like it was something where it was really cool for the fans to be able to see guys move up and down, and for people to get kind of some respect that they normally might not get, because again, they're ranking indie people, right? Just as much as they're ranking people from AEW and New Japan and WWE and whatnot. They're ranking people from every promotion, although it's a big deal to kind of see some of your local favorites or some of your national favorites to get included, in a move up and down every year based on kind of what they did. And I always took it like it was a big deal that they put a ton of work into. I always did. And every year when it came out, I remember being even a kid, in like the, mid to late 80s, I would see those things for sale and I would beg my parents to let me get it. Or, once I got out into the working world, in the late 90s or whatever, I would buy them on my own. I would buy the booklet and check it out, and I would read through the whole thing, man. And I always thought it was really cool the way they did it. But as I kind of was reading more into this and finally got to look into what the categories were, there were a couple categories that I thought were a little vague and a little subjective. And the thing too about that is it just ended up happening that some of the categories that they used ended up being some of the ones that I ended up using for our Podski 100, for my own rankings, because I thought, what a really good way to rank people, giving them like a numerical value between 1 and 10, especially this category, would be something like, how important are they to the promotion, right? Like, where do they kind of fit into the promotion? Are they a main event guy that would get like an 8 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10? Or are they kind of like a upper mid card, or like a lower card guy that's only on dark or something like that? They might only get like a 5, right, or a 4 or something like that. But I thought, but again, that stuff is subjective. All of that is subjective. There's no clear cut way to rank people that isn't just opinion based or an educated guess, right? An educated way to come to some kind of a number where you rank people. I was under the impression that there were a lot of people that were working either for PWI or with PWI that every year were putting this list together, and that it was this group effort where everybody would come together and put a lot of effort into this thing and rank these guys and be real serious about it. I really thought that's what it was. I thought it was a journalism thing. I really did. I thought it was a thing where people that were a part of the industry from a respected journalism or even a historian standpoint, or maybe former wrestlers, things like that had an objective view about certain people's talents, things like that, all came together to kind of put this together. I was a little disappointed, to say the least, when I heard the Jim Valley show this weekend. And I don't listen to Figure Four Online very often. Honestly, the only time I really ever catch any of those guys anymore is when I just take a drive on a Sunday or something, and I'm out and I'm just trying to get away from life for a couple hours. Well, I just happened to click on it, man. I happened to click on the Jim Valley show from this past Sunday, which was what? Today's the 19th. So that would have been the 17th if anybody wants to go back and check that, September 17th. And he blew it up. I mean, he blew the doors off of it and said right out that he criticized it. I know that Meltzer criticized it, and I only know Meltzer did it through the Jim Valley show because Jim referenced it. Valley referenced it. Right. So I don't know if Dave was always part of the work or if he got worked himself. But I know that Dave criticized some of the rankings, and that Jim Valley criticized some of it too this past week. And people at PWI reached out to Jim Valley and told him that the list is fake. It's not real. It's not a real list. There's no great conglomeration of people that have this database where they put information. It's a kayfabe list that they just put together every year to get people talking, and they put people in there and they move people around. And that made me really sad. It did. It actually made me sad to hear that, because this is something that I thought was treated like it was a real thing and it was important. And I over the years, man, I know that fans would always get up in arms about their favorite wrestlers being moved up and down, things like that, and they would be talking about it. And the thing too is I think a lot of the talent gets worked with it, because I've seen nothing but people over the years who get pissed off, and they're like, how the hell am I number 86 whenever there's a guy ahead of me at 68 that I did way more than in the past year? How the hell am I 86, 68? I mean, those are very real things that would come up, and it was a lot. You see that a lot over the years. So I'm disappointed, man, to say the least, and we're going to get more into it here. But I'm really disappointed to hear that.
Yeah, I'm super disappointed too, because I always treated the PWI 500 as like the god, like that's the list. Like everyone references the PWI 500 when you want to know. Like if I know that whenever I got back into wrestling, and that was around 15, 16, was I stumbled on the PWI 500 and I started looking at dudes and seeing where they were on the list. And then I kind of like figured out, okay, these guys are pretty good. These guys aren't so good. So I literally based my like kind of fandom in the beginning there when I came back to wrestling from the PWI 500 to find out that it's a total sham. It's a complete work, which totally makes sense because of it's the wrestling business and all that. That totally makes sense. But this is something that talents have taken dead serious for years. Like I can think just as of recently as somebody, Jonathan Gresham, was taking his PWI ranking, which was in the top 10 or whatever, in the top 20. He was bringing that to the negotiation tables for contract negotiations. Like, and to find out it's a total sham, like they're only going to put over people that they want to put over, which I mean is totally understandable. I mean, everything is subjective and all that, but like they've presented this and made this list seem as though it is something more than what it really is. And they've been selling copies, digital and physical copies of this for years. They always have a huge media push. Buy the PWI 500 now. That's literally probably the biggest issue that they put out every single year. And to find out that it's a total sham after all these years is a super bummer. And I'm sure back in like 79 or whenever they started this, like they probably had like really great intentions. And there probably was a lot of thought put into it. And over the years, it's just got dumbed down and lazied out, and it's become what it's become. But this list sucks. Like this list this year sucks.
It's been getting worse, it seems like. And look, man, I know it's really hard to rank 500 people. It was really hard for me to rank 100 whenever we were putting together, our own Podski 100 individually, so that we could come together and do a group effort 100. It was really difficult to rank people versus each other. But here's the thing, man. When there's people that you're not super familiar with, but you know their name and you know that they had a big impact on the past year or a big impact on history or whatever it is, dude, I was able to find 2 to 3 matches of those people just by Googling their name. and saying so-and-so best matches. And you would go and find links to Daily Motion or to YouTube or something like that. And if you're not super familiar with it, but you want to be familiar with it, it's not like it's 85, man. This isn't 1985 where you've got a tape trade. You can go and find these people and investigate who they are. Even the indie guys, you can find matches for these indie guys if you look. I mean, Internet Wrestling TV, dude, is cheap. Fight TV has got a bunch of stuff. It's what, $5 a month? Go do it and do a search. I mean, it's not so difficult to do that. And what really irritates me about it is I love the fact that they're including so many different promotions in this 500, whether it's a work or whether it's real, whatever the hell it is. It's a really great opportunity to give a platform to people nationally or globally that don't know who the hell these people are, right? It is a big deal for them to be able to do that as a talent, to be able to have some kind of visibility to get included in the top 500. And when you are just putting this list together and you're not having any real effort, which is what it is. It doesn't seem like there was much effort here, especially collaboratively. It's lazy and it's irresponsible. It is irresponsible because there is a way to do this where everybody comes together, a group of people come together, and you are serious about it, and you send names back and forth. What do you guys think about Steve Macklin versus Kenta, right? Or Mike Bailey's at 39, right? What do you think about Mike Bailey the past year versus Kenta at 40, right? I mean, and just have those internal discussions and to come up with it, because some of those people are going to say, you know what, man, I've heard of Mike Bailey for years. I don't know who the hell he is. I've never seen him wrestle. I've only ever seen Kenta in NXT. Like, I don't know how to rank these people against each other. Well, dude, it's easy to do this. You just go to Google and you go look at a recent Mike Bailey match, or the best Mike Bailey match you can find from the past year, the best Kenta match you can find from the past year, and you watch it, dude. And you grade those people out. And if a guy's walking out there with a title on his shoulder, whether it's a prop or whether it's not, it's still an accomplishment for that person, for that character. And you've got to be able to weigh those things out against each other to see where they're at. And I'm really disappointed that they did not put more effort into this. And I really hate the fact that they used the win-loss record as part of the criteria for how people get in. Because look, man, if you don't know how to rank people against each other, there's no chance in hell that you're going through and finding out how many damn matches Alex Shelley lost or won over the past year, man. And for some of these indie talents, it feels like somebody walked into the office or sent an email and said, hey, man, I know the 500 is coming up here pretty soon. I went to this indie show with my nephew, and there was this guy that looked like he might be pretty good, and his name was so-and-so, and everybody in the room goes, yeah, okay, cool, just throw him on the list.
Right.
Like, that's not okay, dude. It's not okay to do that.
No.
Put the effort into it and make it a real list. Take it seriously. Look, it's a fake industry. We all know that. We all know it's fake. But there's still ways to rank that. I mean, you can still rank actors against actors, right? I mean, people still give reviews of movies, right? People still write movie reviews. Why can't you write reviews of wrestling talent? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's ways to do this where it can still be presented like what you put out is taken seriously. And I just felt like it was really irresponsible.
Yeah, it's. Do you want to run over the criteria that they have? Because I know that there is some criteria.
I think I have it right here. Let me see where it's at here. So they went through like from what I have here, it's win-loss record, championships won, quality of competition, major feuds, prominence within the promotion, and overall ability. Okay, here's the issue with that. Now, the eligibility period for this particular year was July 22 to July 23. Okay, that's fine. You go from July to July, whatever. But we can break this down here based on a win-loss record. Where the hell are you finding that information? How is that accurate? Are you asking Mike Bailey how many matches he had over the course of the year and how many he won?
WrestleMania week. He had like fucking 15 matches at WrestleMania week. He did like 5 in one day.
I mean, dude, it's just and you saw one and you saw all 15. And I'm like, look, I'm not criticizing Mike Bailey. I like him a lot. I really do. I think he's a good talent. He's a great athlete. But, I mean, we saw that guy have the same match 26 times over the course of 3 days.
He did, yeah.
You know, and I don't know how many he won or lost. I have no idea. I'm sure as hell not keeping track of it. Nobody else is either. And he's not keeping track of it. Why would you? So the second one, the championships one, again, we all know these things are props. Now, if you're the world champion within a promotion, that's a different kind of deal than it is if you're the freaking, the light heavyweight champion, right? It's just a different deal, because if you're the main guy and you're the champ, you're the face of the promotion, you're the one that does the media, you're the one that gets all the credit for everything, you're the one that gets slighted too if the paychecks go down and the houses go down. So being the champ at the top level does mean something. And look, man, I know that all the ones underneath that are kind of props for the most part, but they're also not. So, but if you're going to use that as a criteria, whether they're real or not, right? Whether they're props or they're not, you're still including that as a criteria for how you're putting people on this list. So you're treating it like it's a real thing. Okay, fine. Okay, that's fine. You want to use championships as an accomplishment category? I think that's good. Fine, we'll do that. The next one, quality of competition. I mean, dude, how vague do you want to be with this? Like, how subjective is that? Quality of competition. What does it mean?
Yeah, you can't put people that are in WWE. You can't hold them to the same standard as people that are on the indies. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, they're not getting the same quality of matches or.
I mean, dude, Ricochet loses every match he's ever been in. He's one of the most athletic, talented people ever. I mean, come on, dude. Dolph Ziggler gets killed every week, and he's probably one of the top wrestlers in the world. I mean, you know what I mean, talent wise. So, I mean, you can't. It's so hard to use that category. It's just, again, that's one of the ones that is so vague that it's almost like they have a mask to hide behind with that, right? Where there's not really any kind of algorithm involved in the quote unquote quality of competition. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's just more subjectivity for whoever's putting the name down.
Right.
How many times did Masha Slamovich beat Rosemary? And how high is Rosemary for her to count as quality of competition?
I mean, dude, that's the thing too. We can get into the women thing. Let's earmark that for 1 second and finish the rest of these categories, because I want to come back to that for sure.
Yeah, welcome in, Teddy Mongoose.
Hey, well, it's a big show.
Oh God!
You guys keep on keeping on.
I hope.
Major feuds is the next one. Okay. That is another one that is so subjective, because I mean, what are the major feuds for one called Manders? You know what I mean? Like, I love that guy, dude. I'm so glad he's on the list. The guy works his ass off. But are you telling me that one called Manders' feuds are should be higher ranked than people who have had a 6-month program?
Yeah. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We should have known that this thing was a total work from the beginning, based off all this criteria.
Well, you want it to be real, and we've thought it was real since we were kids. So of course we thought, of course you're going to try to treat it like it's a real thing. The next one, prominence within the promotion. I think that one can be graded, because if you're someone who is on TV every week, right? Or you're on the upper half of the card. And I'm talking about upper half of the card being the matches that really matter, right? If you're somebody that's in those matches, or you're a main event person, you can probably assign a grade to that based on 1 through 10, right? If you're a main event guy, like, a Punk or MJF or whoever it is, like Roman Reigns, those guys are 10. That's a 10 out of 10, right? But if you're somebody like Ricky Starks, I mean, you might tell me, well, I think Ricky Starks is a 6, and I might tell you I think Ricky Starks is a 7. And Mongoose might say, I don't know, dude. He might be. He was hurt. He was suspended. Yada yada. Maybe he's only a 5, right? Well, all those numbers are different. Everybody's numbers there are different. So, are we coming together to grade that out as a PWI staff, or are we just throwing people out there with this, prominence within the promotion kind of stuff? That, I mean, it's very subjective. And the last one too, the overall wrestling ability. I mean, who's grading that, man? Are you paying Lance Storm to do that? Who's grading it?
Right. I agree. It's so disappointing, dude. But yeah,
I don't know. Look, we've all been fans for 100 years, and I know that, I can tell you that Kurt Hennig is much better in the ring than Top Dollar, right? I can tell you that. I can tell you Chris Benoit is a hell of a lot
you,
better
you ain't telling, bro, hold on. You ain't telling me that, baby boy. I got to push it best. And I lean TD.
Dude, it's just I don't know, dude. It's Adonis the Stallion, or whatever the hell his name is not better than Jushin Thunder Liger. I'll tell you that. And that's that's just what it is, man. So I can tell you those things, but I can't tell you whether or not whether or not somebody is a 7 versus somebody who's a 6 or right in there, where we're all gonna have different numbers for that.
But here's the biggest thing with me is that list has obviously been around since we were kids. And I've only ever really, I don't want to say paid attention to it, but because, I've been into the, observer realm and everything to see more of the internet fandom things, post Lords of Pain, which shout out to lordsofpain.net. Wrath of Tito, your Wrath of Tito, man, your column was the TITS. But the thing is that when Kenny Omega was the number one PWI number one, and when John Moxley was it the year that he came to AEW, and the first time it was Seth Rollins, the thing about it is that nobody scrutinized the list like this. My frustrating thing is I honestly and genuinely feel like they did it this bad on purpose for Pub. It was only to get people to talk about it, to buy the issue, to say PWI over and over again. There's no other reason why it's this bad this year. It never was.
Yeah.
3 decades, dude. It hasn't been this bad. There's no reason for that.
Yeah. I mean, Baker, you even brought up this weekend about at one point, didn't Dean Malenko win it? Wasn't he number 1 at one point?
Something like that. Like, he was super high on the list.
I think he's right. I think Malenko absolutely mid 90s, maybe 96 or 97.
Yeah.
Like it used to be like almost the Smarks thing, like one of those things. Like it should have appealed to us specifically. The people that look. I'm not saying we get it, but I mean the people that get it, that understand you're watching a work, but at the same time you're looking for what you do in the ring, your ability, your effort, how well you've not just how good your promos and programs are, but how well you've improved from point A to point B. And I don't know. I mean, Masha Slamovich, that's the one I just can't get over, dude. Is that Will Ospreay is the best actual wrestler in the world, and whatever the quality of program and prominence in the promotion and whatever in ring ability and all that, they have Masha Slamovich. You get better than Will Ospreay. And again, that's on purpose. That is to make me mad. It is literally like Fox News fodder just to make me mad. Is all that it is. It is like that's all that it is.
But there's no reason why it should be. It is why I'm frustrated with it too. Is like it doesn't have to be. So why did you do this? Even in the realm of kayfabe, why can't you still put out a list of people that your staff truly believes are ranked 1 through 500? Why are you snoozing it?
Where was the kayfabe when Dean Malenko won it whenever he was the cruiserweight champion?
Dude, I don't know.
You're gonna like this.
So how do you hide under the and again, maybe he didn't win it. I'm almost positive that he did.
He did. He was number 1 in 1997.
There you go. I thought it was 96. So 97.
Yeah.
So where's your kayfabe thing there? Because you don't have one. Right.
Well,
because he was number 1. He was literally, if you asked the WCW brass for a power ranking of their depth chart of talent on the company, they would have had him in the mid 70s beneath the entire NWO black and white behind. Dude, they would have had Dean Malenko behind Crush, behind Scott Norton. Like, there's so many people they'd have had him behind. So I don't know. That's what's annoying is that now they could say kayfabe, but it was only to make people talk about it.
Here's
Well, then you shot yourself in the foot for all future presentations of this.
Yep. They ruined it. Yep, you're exactly right about that.
Because I'm never going to give a shit about this ever again.
Here's some notable number ones, which is really funny because Diesel was number one in 95. The Miz was number one in 2011.
I mean, but why wouldn't they?
And especially the thing with Diesel, sorry for just clearing my throat on the air. But the thing is with Diesel, as much of like a train wreck in retrospect as that title reign was, bro, he beat the champion in 7 seconds in Madison Square Garden, and he didn't lose for 11 months. Exactly. And it was the number one promotion. And so who's mad at that?
And that's the person that should be number one.
Yep. And even the Miz, like the Miz is our favorite geek on this show, obviously. But at that time, I mean, yeah, he was a champion. I don't know. Should the Miz have been one? No, but could you argue for it that year? Probably, absolutely. I don't know.
Fair enough. So there's Benoit, Batista, Cena, Orton, Triple H was it twice. CM Punk was 2012. Seth Rollins was 15. Reigns was 16. Okada was 17. Omega was 18. Rollins again in 19. So Rollins is a 3-time.
Literally 15 through 19. Those are all correct.
All those are correct.
Those are all correct.
None of those are fake. None of those are fake.
No.
Yep.
I just don't understand where this one came so far out of left field.
Was Moxley 20?
Moxley was 2020.
Yeah. So those are 5 straight that they got nailed it.
Yeah, and then Kenny was 21, Roman Reigns was 22, and then obviously
6 straight, 7 straight. Dude, 7 straight. The last 7 years, you want to tell me? And I'm not saying that all 500 were correct, but you want to tell me that they absolutely know what's going on that much? Because you just named the best 7 wrestlers of the year every year for 7 years in a row, and I wouldn't argue a second about any of them.
Right. I guess the thing about it is that we're not really arguing about, none of us here are arguing about number 1. We're like arguing about like number 13.
Well, you're right about that. But the thing is it like, I think that it starts with number 1, because giving it to Seth, like they can say everything that they want to say and people chant Seth's song, but like Seth is the B champion. And I feel like, if being honest, maybe you guys disagree, using only the criteria that y'all went through before, the number 1 wrestler from last year, just using that criteria, is probably Orange Cassidy.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, so Cassidy was pretty high on the list. He's number 8.
But I'm saying just using that criteria.
Yeah.
And the thing is I think they knew that they couldn't use Cassidy. And so then I think that they turned it into a gimmick.
Oh, yeah, true.
Well, I mean, gimmick or not, the laziness continues because they forgot one of the greatest wrestlers in the damn world in the whole 500.
They had to apologize to him, dude. They actually had to apologize.
How do you miss the guy that's been leading a faction and is one of the top 10 wrestlers of the last 20 years who just won the G1 a month ago?
So bad.
And how do you not have any connections to let you know that he's about to win the G1?
How do you not have have a reviewer go through this and say, "Hey, dude, you forgot to put this guy in, who's one of the top stars in the second biggest promotion in the world"?
How do you miss that?
And I'll tell you what, Naito had a better year than Okada did. So Naito to me probably should be number 7.
Yeah, some of these names on this list, in the top, some people in the top 20, like I don't want to kick rocks at people, but like I don't feel like Josh Alexander should be in the top 10. I don't feel like Masha Slamovich should be in the top 20.
I'm biased because one of them is my actual favorite, but I don't understand how Ospreay and Omega aren't in the top 10. Yeah. They had 2 of the best matches I've ever seen in my entire life that are objectively 2 of the best matches that anyone's ever seen in their entire life. and they did one on the biggest show in the third biggest promotion of the year's Super Bowl, and they did the other one on the second biggest promotion in the world's, uh, you know, crossover with that first promotion. But like those two matches alone, but then look at all those things we went through talking about Omega the last time. The Vikingo match. I'm venting about them not having Oscar and Omega in the top 10.
Well, there were a couple that really stood out to me. And look, even if this thing is all kayfabe, like it still doesn't make sense. Like even in the world of kayfabe, it's dumb, right? Because Tony D'Angelo won a belt on a nationally televised weekly TV show and is way behind Dark Sheik
What?
in the rankings, dude. I mean, look, I've seen Dark Sheik wrestle probably 15 times over the course of the past year. It's not real that person should be anywhere close to the top, whatever they're close to.
What is
Tony D won a belt and had probably 70 hours of TV devoted to him.
Yeah, how much time was devoted to that storyline?
literally had so
I mean, how about the okay, so they said that their year ran from July to July, right? I don't even know when D'Angelo won that belt, so I don't know. But I will say this, Braun Breaker was on a nationally televised TV show every single week and was the champion, didn't lose that NXT title until April, and he was 37. So how the hell is Carmelo Hayes 13?
Well, I mean, I guess I would kind of maybe argue Carmelo might be a little bit higher than him. I personally thought Carmelo was better than Breaker, but I guess I'm just thinking about the highlights. Like his matches were, I guess he's a more I guess because he's a more flashier pick than what Breaker probably is. But Carmelo Hayes, I felt like is a top 20 guy. I felt maybe right outside the top 20. Like he had a really good year. I don't know if it was better than Breaker's, but I don't think that Breaker should be like as. I mean, I feel like Breaker, we talked about him all the damn time. He was one of the guys we were talking about WrestleMania weekend a lot. Like,
yeah,
he was the NXT champion.
How about this one? Kojima, who we all like, had one notable match and is 60 places ahead of Wesley, Damian Priest, Finley, and Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. Where is Dom on the list?
Way down.
Seriously? Is he not in the top 100?
I'm looking right now, too. Where's he at?
Because
we might have to just do a search. Command F. Let's see what we got here.
Dom's not in the 100. This list sucks.
94. He have him at 94.
Okay. I thought he was close to around the 100. Still, there's no way that there's not. I don't think there's 50 more people that had a better year than Dom Mysterio. Like,
no, there's not. The whole thing that what we're trying to get at here is that once you get out of like the top 25, everything becomes so subjective that you can just throw names at a chalkboard, dude. And that's all it is. And that is where I have the issue, because there's still a way to rank all of those people and do this in a responsible, respectful way for all of them, and to not just throw names onto a list, man. It's not okay to do that. And look, if there's only one person in that office that is familiar with all 500 people or 450 of them, then that person should be the one ranking them.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not.
Where's David Finlay?
I'll tell you right now.
He's 74.
74.
You know what? That's probably fair. Seriously, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
That was one that I was curious about because he was starting to get a push, and 74 sounds fair. Now, the 73 people ahead of him, I'm probably going to be irritated about, but 74 sounds fair.
Yeah. I feel like Wardlow should not be ahead of him, but here we are.
No, without a doubt he should.
Yeah, without a doubt, Wardlow should not be 47, but here we are. But yeah,
we got LA Knight at 130.
LA Knight is at 130.
You got to remember, LA Knight got hot though at WrestleMania. He got hot too late.
He got hot. Yeah, he didn't get hot.
That's the argument against LA Knight is he got hot too late. That doesn't mean that I would say that he should be somebody around. He should be someone around 100 because that is a third of the year.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
time of the year. But
look, yeah. I don't. It's not even that I think. Again, I don't have any problem with the people who are on the list. I don't have any problem with that. I just have a problem with the fact that they just threw a bunch of names onto a list without anything really ranking anybody.
Right. That's what pisses me off. It's lazy. But that's the PWI 500. We can do a plug for the Podski 100 here too, because we've been working on this. We're going to be turning in our lists and then starting to put them all together at the end of this week. So if you're following along on YouTube, you can see all the rules on the screen right now. But if you're listening, we're going to be taking our true list of 100. And this is not an all-time list. This is a list from when Hogan won the belt from Sheik. So this is 83 to present day, a list of 100 best wrestlers. This will be strictly for the men. We're going to do the women later down the road. But we wanted to keep it men and singles, stars only. We're not putting tag teams together. And this is a list where we're going to compile everybody's list, see who they had at one, give that whoever scores the highest scores across everyone's list. And it's basically, if you rank number 1, you get 100 points. If you rank 100, you get 1 point. And we're going to put everyone's list together, take each entrance, compile their numbers, and do the list that way. Whoever has the most points wins and will be crowned the Podski, the number 1 ranking. And that's how we're kind of doing that. We're going to be releasing that from batches of 10, and then there's going to be a whole group of everybody. So everyone that's bringing this list together, they're all regulars. Andretti's a part of it. Mongoose is a part of it. We got JC from Hot Shots. We got beautiful Bobby Winters, who's been on here a few times. We got Bricks Malone. So basically everybody that will be at WrestleMania is putting together this list. And so yeah, super excited about it. And I don't know if Andretti's got anything else to say about it, but I put together my list. And I will say this for PWI, it was hard as hell to put together a list of 100.
Yes, it was
difficult. So I understand that, but put some better effort into it.
Yeah, hats off to George South for getting in there this year at 492. Congrats. Yeah.
Who was Mr. Relevant? Who was number 500?
Andre Chase, who I don't even know if he had more than 2 singles matches on TV the whole year.
You know what? I would have put him in there just so he'd be in the top 500. Because bless the child on that gimmick, man.
I like him too, but I mean, they got Dijak really low on here. Dijak's a guy who's been consistently in a feud a lot over the course of that.
Where's Dragunov? Because Ilya Dragunov, and this is skewed because it's recency bias, but he's a top 20 guy in the world right now. Where's he at?
151. Behind Nick Wayne.
My
prominence in promotion. And here's
how many months.
So here's the thing with Nick Wayne is that this is all pre-AEW debut. So their prominence in the promotion is Defy. And look, no offense to Defy, but Defy is a local promotion.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about earlier about the strength of competition. You can't weigh them the same. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so moving on to, there was a big, return this week. We had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson show up on every single, media platform that he could get his face in front of. He was not only on, he was on McAfee's show. He was on Game Day. He was everywhere. And he made his return to WWE on Smackdown on Friday night to a enormous pop. One of the biggest pops that we've had in WWE in a long, long, long time, at least as far as I can remember. It's pretty shocking, even though it kind of, he really pissed everybody off. And, well, not everybody, but he definitely pissed me off earlier in the day whenever he was on McAfee show and he decided to pull the pin on a grenade and launch it into the room and say, here, figure it out. Whenever he basically said that Roman and Rock was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania 39, which there was much speculation that we had talked about on this podcast for a while, but never came to fruition. And it was ultimately, from what I know that Meltzer had said about, like, it was his call and that he was out of shape. So if that was the plan, he just, the long or the short, how I feel about this, he went on there and straight up lied all weekend to generate buzz to try to insert himself into WrestleMania 40 because they got nothing to do right now because of the writer's strike. And he's openly available to do anything that he wants now in terms of WWE because there's nothing else taking up his schedule. So wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Rock returning, and we're going to do some fantasy booking as well. Because we believe we took a lot of time to talk about this all weekend. We spent an exorbitant amount of time trying to figure out what is the right thing to do with The Rock and Roman and how this inserts into the storyline that they presently have already in place, what they've already done, and potentially where they could be going. And we believe we cracked the code. So we already know that somebody's listening to the damn pod because a lot of the stuff we talk about on here ends up coming true. So maybe we'll lay the groundwork and the foundation for the end of this bloodline story.
Yeah, go ahead, Mongoose.
Yes. So my first thing is, you say he's lying, John. He's a worker, so he's working. That's what they do. Hulk Hogan hasn't told the truth in 40 years, and so what if for him to go on all these platforms and for him to generate buzz? My thing is the timing is very interesting because this didn't just happen during the writer's strike. This happened after the week that Endeavor had formally acquired WWE.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And so, to think that wasn't a carefully calculated thing is, I think that it's irresponsible to forget that. Him splashing in, I hate to say it, but this is my theory with this. I think that you put him on McAfee to generate some buzz. You have him show up just to see what happens. And what you're doing is you're testing waters. Yeah. And if he moved needles, and not just pop, but if he moved needles and he moved ratings, which he absolutely did, they over 2.8 million viewers whenever he was out there unannounced on the first segment of that show Friday. To me, this was for nothing to do for him wrestling on 40. This has everything to do with what they hinted at when Cena came out during that Money in the Bank show. Because AEW ran Wembley, they need a main event for WrestleMania 41 at Wembley. And the only match that they have that is going to sell out Wembley, and I mean sell out Wembley, 90K, not 82,000 sold with 74,000 through the turnstiles. I mean 90,000 sold, 90,000 through the turnstiles is Rock and Roman, and that is what we're setting the groundwork for right now.
Bless the child. What'd you think about it?
Is Homeboy going to be the champ going into 41?
And the thing is, no. And the reason I say no is they did it before and they don't need to do it again, because just him walking out there made 3 million people turn their TVs to that.
Oh, I'm talking about Reigns. Is Reigns still going to be the champ?
Oh, without a doubt. I feel bad for John because he's killing Cody dead at Mania 40, and if he doesn't, he's going to loan Cody the belt the way that they did Kofi Kingston a couple of years ago, then Roman's going to murder him on the way to WrestleMania.
That's okay, as long as he wins one while I'm there. I can't go to 2 WrestleManias and get cucked out of a Cody Rhodes win back-to-back years in a row, can I?
Well, you got plenty of time to prepare for it.
I'll tell you what, though, John. The thing about it is, if that is their grand plan, it's to sell those tickets. As annoying as much as I just hate them counting these days because he defends this belt 3 times a year. I got news for you, man. He ain't losing it.
No, I know.
Like he's not going to lose it.
I'm preparing my body. I'm preparing, but yeah. I guess he's going to have the damn belt. I don't think he needs to have the belt.
They could do that match without the belt and sell just as many tickets, but just to make sure that they do and to make sure that it's the biggest match ever, it will be for the belt. You know, the one thing The Rock, here's the thing, and I didn't even think about it, but The Rock might win that Seth Rollins belt.
Oh. So what are you thinking? How do you think he gets there?
Me?
Yes, you.
So he doesn't do the Rumble. But if they wanted to be champion versus champion, there's the Saudi show. The Saudi show, would they have one before Mania? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It would depend on what the Saudi show was that year. The Rock could absolutely beat whoever has that world belt at Saudi and then do champion versus champion. But to be honest, all they need to do is have Rock show up at the end of 40 and say, Roman, I'll see you next year for the head of the table or whatever.
That's what I thought. So the way that I was laying out the framework is that Rock is going to come in and he's going to support Roman and be in the bloodline, and that he would try to bring the family back together. He would try to get Jay back within the family and bring Jimmy back in. Like, he would mend all the fences and all the bridges would be rebuilt, and then they would be rock solid headed into Mania. And then Rock would stop the interference. Like, he wouldn't allow the Usos to jump in. He wouldn't allow Solo to jump in. And then Cody would win. And then The Rock would step in and say, you know, you just lost because you need all this help. And I'm here to prove that I'm the real head of the table. I'm the head of the bloodline, and I'll see you at 41. So
that could be it. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, I think I don't even know if he's going to show up that much between now and 40. I think Rock just runs out at 40 and stops Solo Sikoa from hitting somebody in the throat and prevents the interference, and Reigns loses the title to somebody.
Yeah.
Whether that's Jay or whether that's Cody or whether that's, you know, I don't know who the hell, you know, but it could just be something as simple as that.
And the other thing too is that it's thrown in our face a lot in these press conferences, is that they're only at the bottom of the third inning. So, like, at some point we got to move innings here. We just can't be stuck in the third inning all the time. We got to make movements here. So,
the bottom of the third puts us in the sixth inning this time next year. So then the ninth inning is Rumble season the year after.
Yeah.
So that literally could be it, is that the bottom of the ninth inning could be Mania 41, because that, you know, Heyman said that bottom of the third thing
twice. He said
go.
So
there you go.
I don't know, but it's definitely big business. They got over 103 million views over the weekend on YouTube. So, like, it's big business. It instantly brought in 3 million viewers. Like, it's big business. It's a big deal. It is the money match. And I know that I had talked to people on Twitter over the weekend, and they were like, why does everyone think Cody has to win the belt? Well, I don't know. Like, yes, I can get on both sides, where I can say that, yes, this needs to be for the belt, but I can also get with it real, I guess, my own fandom is creeping in here, but I don't want to see that happen to Cody again. So I'm like, shit, like we got to have Cody win it, but it doesn't need this Roman Rock thing doesn't need the belt. But in what you're saying, Mongoose, that like if they want to legitimately sell 90,000 tickets and they want 90,000 asses in seats, like the only way I mean, they're going to sell those tickets no matter what, but you're gonna,
You put a 4-year title reign against The Rock. There's nothing better you can do.
this is the biggest match since WrestleMania 17. I feel like.
It could be argued that it's bigger than 17 because we saw 17 2 manias before.
Mm.
It's probably the biggest match since The Rock and Hogan.
At 18.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a year later, but for different reasons.
Gotcha. Yeah. That is true. I mean, it's huge. Like it's enormous. And for people to say that like this is the biggest money match to do it this year, they've already sold the tickets. Like I want like
exactly it.
Andretti made that huge point in the group chat this week. So I won't steal your whole thunder on that one, but
No, I think you're right. You sell those tickets for the Wembley show, which they're going to have. They're going to do a Mania in London. It's going to be in Wembley, and they're going to want to have the biggest gate that has ever happened, and they need to have the biggest match that they could possibly get. And it ain't going to be Jay Leno versus Dennis Rodman. It's going to be, I mean, it should be that, but it's going to be Reigns and Rock, dude. And they're going to build towards 41, and that's probably the right call.
yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely the right call. If they can make it happen,
they're going to get a lot of people from the United States to fly in for that match, fly in for that show.
They'll get people. The entire European Union is going to try to go to that. The U.S. is going to fly into that. And again, because of what All In just did, and because they announced another one to plop a Mania right in between those is a double middle finger, one on each hand, to each of those AEW shows,
right?
And that it checks all the WWE boxes.
Oh, they're absolutely going to walk in there and big dick swing around that, you sold 82,000 tickets and you had 74 people in there. But we're going to sell 90 and we're going to have more than 90 in the building. Like, yeah. And we thought that getting tickets was hard for 40, not only like price wise and all that, and trying to get all that together, trying to get tickets for that show might be even worse. It's going to be like like if they announced that match before they put the tickets on sale, that could be like a WrestleMania 20 situation where like those tickets were impossible to come by. And especially like they sell them on Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster has massive problems with ticket sales. Like they're
ain't going to be cheap. I'll tell you that much.
It ain't going to be cheap. Yeah. But that is the match. That's what the match they've been building to all these.
They're going to build that as the biggest match ever, is what they're going to build it as.
Right. A couple years after they did the Randy Orton Edge thing. That was the greatest.
Who's Edge? Who's Orton? Who are those people?
I know.
You remember whenever they definitely build that as the greatest match ever.
Did they think we were
sorry about Joe Damlock?
Where were they in the PWI 500 after that match?
Oh, I don't know. Oh my God. Speaking of Edge, is he going to show up tomorrow night on the Grand Slam?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I went back and watched some of the Edge and Christian show on Peacock.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's funny, and they have a lot of great chemistry, and there's zero chance that they're not going to try to bring that guy in.
Dude,
I think John's right. I think he shows up tomorrow. I think he shows up tomorrow and has the big moment, and then they try to parlay that into Rampage viewers by him coming back on Rampage and announcing who his match is going to be at the Wrestle Dream show.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. The funny thing is that you mentioned that, Andretti, is that the Edge and Christian show that was on the network is not nearly as good as what the actual podcast was. The actual podcast was phenomenal.
I mean, those guys are great together, man. You have to do everything you can to bring that guy in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But back to the
Christian's been a home run, and they're the same. Christian has been everything that a guy that's his age should be. Christian has been Jericho, except he doesn't have Jericho's pedigree. He's come in, he's talked people into the building, he's had incredible matches, even well beyond his years, and he's put everybody over. And Edge isn't going to do that. He's not going to not do the same thing, and that's exactly what he should be, and that's awesome. And then we get Edge and Christian versus the Young Bucks. We get Edge and Christian versus FTR. We get Edge and Christian versus Aussie Open. We get Edge and Christian versus the Lucha Brothers. Like,
yeah, I mean,
so why not?
Bless the child on that one. I'll say it again on that one.
And that's not even to consider all the singles matches we could get, because that look, it's hard to just go by one match, but that Edge and Sheamus match was fantastic. Those guys did a hell of a job together. Edge can still work, man. There's still a lot of gas in that tank. Just to get the singles match, get the big singles match with him and MJF. Give me him and Adam Cole. Give me him and anybody that can work. And that's awesome. I want to see all those matches.
Amen.
You know what would be great? Would be great to do would be for Takeshita to beat him. Takeshita should beat Edge.
Ooh.
Yeah. And something that we talked about in the chat, but this run is Edge's only chance to make the Observer Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because his latest comeback didn't happen.
But you know why though? Like here's the problem with that too though, Teddy, was that they weren't letting Edge be Edge whenever he came back to do this WWE run. Edge is a very funny person. He's got good comedy, he's got good comedic timing, all those kind of things. When he's with Christian and he's doing those kind of things where he's himself and a little bit sillier and a baby face and whatnot, is when he's at his best. And I think if they let him do that, let him be the fan favorite baby face and let him be that guy, man, he's got a shot.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Absolutely.
They don't book legends bad, because Sting's the best book person in that promotion, and Christian, he hasn't been a 10 out of 10, but he's been a 9 out of 10. He really has. Christian's awesome, and everything they've done with him's awesome. So I have faith that they would do the same with Edge.
Yeah, I think I am rooting for Edge at this point. And I know I've been an Edge detractor for a long time, but I would love to see him come in and have a nice run for 2 years, whatever the hell it ends up being, put people over, have a good time, get a paycheck, help out the company, man, and let it go to where it needs to go. But I'm pulling for him to have a great run. I really am.
Yeah, we definitely are. We're rooting for you, Edge, if you're going to actually show up tomorrow night at Grand Slam. All right. Well, we can talk about this. We can talk about this main event, Ski, if you want to, because you tell me. I'll set the table. Yes. So we are gonna do. I'm so excited for this. This is my wheelhouse. So we're talking about Unforgiven 2003. This is ultimate fandom for me. I am in my bag. Like this is. I remember watching the build to this. I wanted to go to this show, and just because it was in Chocolate Town, and I'll let you set the table, Mongoose. Take it away. Before I get into it, I need to say that this show took place on September 21st, 2003, but something more important happened on September 17th, 2003. Ooh. And that more important thing was that Randy Savage was scheduled for a concert debut at Mr. B's nightclub and restaurant in Treasure Island, Florida. Bubba the Love Sponge, who was Hulk Hogan's best friend, who was Hogan's worst enemy, took it upon himself to ruin the show. He basically gave a bunch of concert goers T-shirts that said Macho Man sucks on the back and Hulk Hogan rules on the front. And he sent them in there to haze and ruin the Macho Man's concert. The restaurant management allowed to refuse any of those people in with the idea of keeping the hecklers out. But because the venue held less than 200 people, the hecklers still got in to ruin the show.
Savage and Brian Chronic Adam was living off of a London career-ending insurance policy, as well as working for security for Savage during his rap shows, was there, and he and Savage came out and were booed, where fans were shouting, "Crapped your pants at Gold's Gym" at him. Savage was lip-syncing songs from his rap album, and people were chanting Hogan at him. The CD then started to skip. There was big embarrassment. He continued to lip-sync even as the song skipped before he got so mad that he slammed down his microphone and stormed off, ending the concert after 3 songs. Rest in peace, Macho Man Randy Savage. September 17th, 2003.
I don't even have anything for that. Album is gold.
Man, I wish I was on that.
Dude, I
would have worked.
That'd be a manhole.
I would have loved to hang out with Crush, dude. I would love to hang out with Crush and be on the security.
You'd have been standing there with Crush. Yep, you'd have been standing there with Crush. So I needed to get that in. I was going to save that for the end of the show, but since Andretti's still here, I had to get that in first. So the show itself, this is
let me say this real quick, dude. Let me say this real quick.
Go ahead.
I found out last night for the first time while I was watching the show again and trying to recap that Hershey Park Arena and the Giant Center are not the same thing.
No, they're not.
I thought they were the same damn thing.
No, they're totally different.
I've never been to the Giant Center. I've only been in the Hershey Park Arena.
Oh man, Giant Center's beautiful, man. Beautiful this time of year.
God.
Yeah, Giant Center's a great venue.
It really is.
So
they've been going back. So a little plug for the Giant Center is that the last few times they've had shows there, they're legit sellouts.
Mm-hmm. Well, that the house show we were at sold out, and then the Smackdown that was there before that was people hanging off the rafters, sold out. Me and Trigger Trey were there for a sold out Raw.
You're there for Bro,
and then they were just back there for another Smackdown.
Yeah,
and that was the Cena re-debut. Yeah. They'll get a pay-per-view soon. Like in the next 2 years, they'll definitely get a pay-per-view.
I'd love it
because they and a B pay-per-view, but they'll get an Unforgiven. Well, I said Unforgiven, but they'll get one of those. Okay, so just so the crowd knows, Mongoose was at this show. So an 18-year-old Theodore went to this in a Raw is Jericho shirt with a fist on it. Probably had on baggy ballhead jeans and Airwalk shoes. I had a lot more hair than I do now. And this was the first time that I got to see babyface Shawn Michaels perform. Having said that, before this show started, the only 2 things that I knew about this were that Shawn Michaels was on it and that Goldberg wins. And what's crazy is that I didn't remember Goldberg wrestled Triple H, nor did I remember that Shawn Michaels wrestled Randy Orton, nor did I remember anything else that happened on this entire thing. And this wasn't for any, there's no intoxication. There was nothing like that. And then I watched this whole show and I knew exactly why. I remembered nothing that was on this entire show. It wasn't bad, but it was, you want to talk about a show, which is exactly what this was from 2003. So I'll set the table for you really quick. This show came to us from September 21st, Sunday, September 21st, 2003. It was at the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The crowd at this night, or for this night, was 10,347 people. Sellout, paid $560,000. All-time pro wrestling record for Hershey at the time. The show was 21% thumbs up, 44% thumbs down, and 34.7% thumbs in the middle from Wrestling Observer subscribers at the time. Best match poll was Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton. Worst match was Ross and Lawler versus Coachman and Snow. You want to talk about something that I did not know that I was going to see. That would have been it right there.
I didn't either until
So,
it came out.
yeah. So that was what we have right there.
I loved.
The lead into this.
I gotta
Go
get
ahead.
this in right now because I don't know how much time I ultimately have. How awesome was that segment before the main event when King and JR are sitting there and they're both like real disheveled and real quiet? It was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
That's the era where Jim Ross just didn't give a shit and he would just call everyone no good, dirty sons of bitches on the air. And it is so good. Oh, it was so good. I know the observers are wrong on this one because that was not the worst match on this show.
That was terrible. It was watching Jim Ross in an Oklahoma Sooners jersey trying to throw haymakers on Jonathan Coachman and get drop kicked by Chris Jericho. Like that's a pay-per-view match. This was a nightmare.
That was a main
one of
event
the things that I absolutely loved about it was one of the things that I loved about it was that and it actually got noted in the Observer. I read it after I watched the show. Was that Lawler pulls his strap down, waiting for this big pop, and nobody knew what the hell he was doing. Everybody was like, "Put your hairy nipples away, old man," and that would have popped like 3/4 of America 40 years ago. You know what I mean? Or anybody in the South, even today, and nobody in Hershey knew what the hell was going on.
Oh my god!
I got to lead in this really quick too. So I needed to say that this was the third time that they tried to get Ross off of TV, and the time before that was when Kane burned him alive, and I completely forgot about that. That he laid him down and lit him on fire while a huddled mass in an Oklahoma jersey just got burned to a crisp.
Yes, I can't seriously. I can't wait to talk about this Shane McMahon match. I know that you guys probably hated this, but I loved this show.
No, this was that match was great. It was that match was awesome. Two things I need to say before we talk about the show. First one, the quote that I have from the Observer is, in wrestling, dating back to such luminaries as Luthez, Strangler Lewis, and Stephanie McMahon, there is a saying: we can do it the hard way or the easy way. Well, in this case, nobody was whispering for that for a title change, but they could do it the smart way or the dumb way. Well, the dumb way was going to pacify the ego of the boyfriend, and few thought anything different would happen. I thought that was awesome. The other thing is that the response for the show was way down from a normal WWE pay-per-view. It was actually down 30% from recent shows. And Dave's big gripe was that this should have been the number 1B show of the year because of the main event that you had. And because they killed Goldberg dead going into it.
Yeah.
And spent the entire time saying WCW sucks and so does Goldberg. And dude, even Lawler said something in that match about that Goldberg isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he can still cut you. Like, way to just knock down the guy that you're about to put the belt on. I thought that was but yeah, that was it. Is that, I mean, it was one of those things where this Goldberg run, man, it was doomed before it started.
So that belt that he wins, spoiler alert, is that the only heavyweight title they have at the time?
No, they have the WWE.
No,
that's the world heavyweight.
Yeah, they have a Raw and a SmackDown belt.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, they're in a full brand split. So in 2003, they're in a full brand split, and this is the Raw pay-per-view.
I was going to say, I was surprised that Vince was allowing them to feature that WCW belt so prominently.
Well, they brought it back specifically for TripleH, and then Flair was there, and Bischoff was running Raw at the time, so it kind of made sense. So a year before that, that's whenever Bischoff came out on Raw and just handed that belt out of a Halliburton right to TripleH for not even winning a damn thing, and that's when the Reign of Terror started.
Okay.
But yeah, so my quick notes to piggyback off what you just said, Mongoose, is that this was a super quick turnaround for a pay-per-view, because 4 weeks before that was SummerSlam 2003, and that's where they had the second Elimination Chamber match, and that's where Flair slides that sledgehammer through the chamber, and it's like perfect, and it goes right into Triple H's hands, and then Triple H, they kill Goldberg dead, like literally beat the tar out of him. And then on the go home edition of Raw, right before this, they beat the shit out of Goldberg again in a steel cage. So, or that wasn't the go home, that was one before the go home, but there was such a quick turnaround to this show that it felt, because I went back and watched the build, and there was such a quick turnaround. They were just going boom, 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 boom. Like it felt so condensed and so tight that it was like, why we didn't have to have a pay-per-view this soon. Like it didn't feel like it was needed.
Well, they were doing 12 a year, and so you're a slave to the schedule at that time. But that's when you said that, to go back to what the Meltzer thing was from the Observer that week. While the buy rate might tell a different story, it looks like all decisions in this program, from destroying the character at first, to not doing the switch to SummerSlam, to pinning Goldberg at SummerSlam, to the promos designed more devaluing Goldberg, ended up serving the master. The master, of course, being Triple H, who will get the title back from both a limited and devalued champion upon request. So, and the thing is here is that they then say later on, which I went and read through after, that he was actually leaving to go do some movies, and he was getting married, and he had his honeymoon. And so the reason this is so rushed is that he wasn't going to let this thing go until he absolutely had to. And then he did. And it was just because he was going to be on vacation.
Right. And he also was going through the groin tear. And this is Triple H biker shorts era, which of the biker shorts,
which is funny.
It's really funny until like, because I remember whenever I was like, this is my 11th birthday, because full disclosure, full shoot, my birthday's on the 23rd. So I was kind of secretly hoping back in 2003 that this would be my birthday present. And that Triple H comes out in these biker shorts, and I'm like, what the hell? Why is Triple H wearing these shorts? Like, what the hell are those? And then to find out later, because I didn't have the Observer back in the day, I didn't have all the dirt and all that. I found it out whenever he was on Barstool talking about it, that he had a groin tear, and that he barely could get into those biker shorts to literally have those matches. And it kind of showed, because he had to even Meltzer wrote it in the write-up, is that he had to gut his way through the end of this match.
Right, which gives every credence to, he could have lost the damn belt at SummerSlam.
He could have.
Like, if your groin's torn, you don't need to wrestle another month and do another match.
The other thing that I think about that is the only reason that Triple H had to win at that Elimination Chamber was not for Goldberg. It had nothing to do with Goldberg. I think that it had everything to do with, for the fact that in the November for the previous Survivor Series, which was like 6 months earlier, maybe 9 months earlier, is that he lost that belt to Shawn, and then this ends up leading to them having the closure with the big matches at Bad Blood and all those, where they finally end the big Shawn and Triple H saga. But like, it almost felt like Triple H had to get his win back in the chamber because he lost to Shawn.
Oh, without a doubt, a doubt, because he was already hurt. And the thing about being already hurt, the best thing about being in a work sport is that you're allowed to pick who wins and loses.
Yeah.
So this isn't one of those things where, we booked this fight and he's hurt. What do we like? He knows who's winning and losing before they go out there. And He could say, I can't really walk. I'm puffy and I'm undefined because I can't exercise anymore. Go ahead and beat me. And instead it was, let's get another month in. Man.
It just pains me. It pains me I'm talking about Trips like this, because he's my favorite of all time. But I was destroyed, literally destroyed, whenever I tuned into Raw the following night to see Goldberg carrying that belt. I was destroyed.
Well, how long did that last? When they put the belt on Goldberg?
Very long. Literally, as soon as Trips came back, he got it back.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
And
he had the belt back, didn't he? I can't even remember. It wasn't very long.
I think it was WrestleMania or Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Because
Goldberg wrestles Brock at 20.
Yeah,
I think he loses it at Rumble or somewhere around that time.
Yeah, because Goldberg is gone in another 8 months, so they didn't keep it on him long.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one other thing with that is this guy with this ego, those don't go away. And to remind everybody that CM Punk has said, or rather said to Triple H's face, I don't need to wrestle you at WrestleMania. You need to wrestle me.
Yeah.
At a time when your company's hot and you don't need them. I don't know how they, not that they wouldn't bring him back, but man, if they do bring him back, I don't know, man. I people don't forget.
Yeah.
And a guy with that kind of ego, dude, because Triple H has turned into one of those, like, he's got his guys in a good way because his guys are all very good. Phil's not one of those guys.
Absolutely.
And so I'd be interested to see what happens there.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the show, the one last
Bring
thing.
Bring him in and feed him, dude. Feed him to somebody.
Well, he ain't gonna get fed. He's gonna want to get. He was want to get.
Well, you beat the Miz in the pay-per-view, and then you lose the LA Knight.
Yeah. Before we get into the show, the one last thing I want to say is that this favorite part of the whole thing is that Stone Cold and Eric Bischoff are co-GMs, and the Stone Cold played such a incredibly great role as co-GM of Raw, and I begged for years for Stone Cold to come back and be the co-GM of Raw, and I don't want him to do it anymore. But this is my favorite era. I love it. I love it. I love it. But yeah, this show starts off with a tag match from a very lovable tag team for the Podski, the Dudley Boys versus La Resistance. And I don't know how there wasn't dead bodies after this match. Rob Conway, I think he's not shoot dead, but he might as well be after that head bump. And I don't know how Spike Dudley isn't dead after he took that one that was on Raw, which led to this match.
Them showing that clip before, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is I remembered it after they showed it. I would have never remembered that happening, but I did not remember Conway taking the same brutal, terrible bump. Also timely, R.I.P. Rene Dupree's papa,
Yeah, I saw that too.
Emile, I believe. Yeah, just passed away. He was a promoter in Canada, and he ran basically the off season for the Stampede guys, and so he had a bunch of Stampede people coming through. So R.I.P. to him. Timely for that. But I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, like, Dudleys are over, and the match wasn't bad. It was just another Dudley's Tables match. But for an opener in 2003, yeah, go ahead.
I would say La Resistance was better in retrospect, looking back at them now, than what I thought at the time.
Oh, I fucking hated their guts back then.
They were
no, they're good. They
were just fine here.
They're good.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good. Like, I really enjoyed that match. When I went back and watched it, I was like, all right, it ended up like
something happened with Grenier where he got in the doghouse, and I can't remember what the hell it was. Oh. But Conway is a guy that I always thought they should have done something with.
Well, and Dupree turned into one of those guys that was supposed to be another Randy Orton, and he's working at Armories right now.
Yeah,
like it just didn't click. Whatever happened, but
right.
And he looked like $1 million here. Like, you think that he was going to be a big star for a long time, but yeah. But yeah, this was a fine match, right? Again, tables, crowd into it, all that. So yeah, this is fine.
It was
2 stars. Dave gave it.
Yeah, Dave gave it 2 stars. And then also mentioned here as a Dudley's 17th World Tag Team title reign across all their promotions. So I guess congrats to them on all that hard work and success. But the second match, I loved this angle. We had Test and Scott Steiner fighting over the managerial services of Stacy Keibler. And
so not only the managerial services, that if Steiner loses, he's going to be Test's slave.
Yes. And also
You said you love this. I did not love this because I had to watch this with my wife.
Make this the main event. It should have been the main event.
This did not go over well in my house.
I'm sure it didn't go over well at the house. Yeah, you can't watch this one with a spouse. But one thing I want to get out there is to show how stupid of a man that Bill Simmons is for him to go on his podcast with Nick Khan and say that WWE needs to bring back Test. Test has been dead 15 years. So
why that guy of all people?
Because I mean he was Stephanie McMahon's kayfabe romancier. So I guess that's why. But also Test has his own Twitter account that reminds us all that he's still dead.
But Dave
is that still posting?
I think so.
I almost just spit water out.
It is. I think it is. But yeah, I thought that Stacy laid in that chair shot on Steiner. Like she didn't pull no, but like she laid it in on him. I thought it was great. I loved it. And I mean, obviously
I hated her standing in the ring for the last 2 minutes of the match. Well, I hated that.
Yeah, it was a little long, but whenever she finally did send that chair swinging and it hit Steiner, I mean, it was great. Like he sold for it very well. Talk about Steiner putting on his working boots for a match, although it was only 6 minutes 56 seconds.
Yeah, he looked when it was done. When he was 3 minutes in, it looked like he put in 30. I mean, that was there was a reason in retrospect that he didn't get that rocket, and I understand it. It was fine. It literally was what it was. So, you have man slave versus butt slave right there for you.
But Dave gave it a 1 star. I would have given it 3. And
listen, I just found the account. Is Test still dead?
And when's the last tweet?
The answer to your question is, are they still posting? 5 days ago, they tweeted the word yes. And they hadn't posted anything before that since August 29th of 2022.
So they literally reminded Bill Simmons. They tweeted to remind Bill Simmons. Because that was absolutely 5 days ago.
Oh my God.
They should have tagged him.
They should. Oh my God.
The picture of the account is Test with the long hair holding the hardcore title on his shoulder.
Oh my God.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do the day that they post no? Do we run for the hills?
Dude, there's so many tweets. There's so many tweets from this account. It's almost like every like month or sometimes every day there's another.
When it started, it was daily for like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty much daily all the way up until like the middle of 2021.
Wow.
So they thought they had their point across until in his mouth. Oh my.
That was great. This next match was match of the night for me. This was Mongoose getting to see babyface Shawn versus Randy Orton, and I got some. This is Orton in full Legend Killer run, which was fantastic. I love the Legend Killer. For this match being on a B show, I felt like it deserved to be on a bigger show. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I thought that Shawn made Randy look like $1 million, and I thought that Ric Flair was in his bag. Ric Flair was
the MVP of this match, and he didn't even wrestle.
Right,
he was awesome.
He was so
the bumps he took every time he'd go to get on the ring, and Shawn would just give him the overhead right, and he would flop like he got shot with a shotgun.
Yeah,
He Flair was covered in sweat. I'll tell you what, man. This is a 4-star match. If the finish wasn't the finish,
Yes.
Dave gave it 3. The finish for me, I put it down to 3. Dave gave it 3.5. I was gonna say for me, I would have put it down to 3.5. Dave gave it 3.5. So I'm thinking we were on the same wavelength there because I hated the finish. However, I got news for you there, Andretti. This finish was the finish that Randy Savage used to win the Intercontinental Championship over Tito Santana in 1986.
Ooh.
You think the garbage, yeah.
It was terrible. It fell on TV. I don't remember this happening, but it fell flat on TV because everybody popped for Shawn, and then they rang the bell and they didn't make an announcement and they just went right back to it. And you couldn't really see, the audience couldn't see that Orton got knucks. So, I don't know. It was bad. It was a bad finish, but some great near falls. Shawn kicking out of the RKO was a great near fall. Randy Orton kicking out of the elbow drop was a great near fall.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn did that crossbody to the outside. Like there was some really, really good stuff in here. Like you said, man, this was an excellent match. This finish was bad.
Yeah. And that the other note too is that Randy Orton is world champion literally the next year. When they go into 2004, he wins the World Heavyweight Championship in 2004. So at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. So he's on the fast track they're on their way to that. So and
my thing is because he's on the then beat him.
Right.
Like I don't understand the Dusty finish there is that, like, use the knuckles so the entire crowd can see it and beat him. Right. Like have Flair pulls his foot up, the ref sees it, stops his 2 count. Shawn gets up and complains and is yelling. Flair gets up on the ring, obviously hands him something. Orton hits him. To me, there was no reason for that Dusty finish thing that they did.
I totally. No. I skipped over the women's match just because they did this in those early 2000s where they put these in to kill time, and I hate that because like these women, I mean, they're some of the best in business they ever had, but I was just way too excited to get to the following match, which was
Mrs. Mongoose made me watch this one. So I watched the entire Shawn match, and it was over, and I was getting ready to go to bed, and Gail Kim came out, and she was like, "Okay, now I'm interested." And the reason why is because the last time one of these early 2000 things we watched was whatever, Kelly versus, like one of those bags. And so I ended up watching this whole thing. Molly Holly pulls Lita off of the ring and she smashes her face on the ring apron in her first match back after breaking her neck and getting neck fusion surgery. She chips 2 teeth and almost bit through her tongue. Her mouth is bleeding like a Moxley match. So she's bleeding insane the whole time. But it was fine. It was totally fine match.
Yeah, totally fine.
Molly Holly's really good, man. Trish Stratus is really good.
Right.
Lita in 2003 is fine, and Gil Kim in 2003 is fine. So it was fine. You know what I mean? That was totally good.
Yeah, totally fine. And it totally.
Yeah, I watched that too, and I thought everybody was pretty good.
Yeah.
Trish was a lot faster in the ring than I remember her being. She looked really good.
It's crazy because she was faster then, but she's better now, and she's 50.
Yeah, she's way better now than she's ever 50. Been.
Yeah, it's unreal. She's so much better now than what she was then. It's so crazy.
Like you see Ric Flair's decrepit self.
You're breaking
20 years, now 20 years ago. All right, how about now?
Good.
Okay, so you see Ric Flair decrepit now, But at that point in time, you know, he was in his 50s, and Ric Flair at that point, at that stage, as much as he was flopping around and everything, he's a full man and could not do half of what Trish is doing right now, and that's really crazy.
That is correct. You're actually totally right on that. It is actually crazy, and the fact that like
he's her age now that then, you know
right,
what I mean, and he's a full-time manager at that time.
right, and he ends up getting his full run later with his retirement run,
Right.
which is even
Right. And I guess credit where it's due because I did. Yeah, that is right. He was even older then.
it's
That's why he might be. That's why he might be very high on the old Podski list. You know what I'm saying? Spoiler alert. But Richard Fleer might be. He might be a hands down number one with a bullet. And I don't even know whatever everybody else said.
yeah, I ain't gonna spoil, but he is pretty high on my list too.
Yeah, he might be kind of high on mine too.
Yeah.
I think we're
Yeah. I'm willing to bet that given the criteria that we have that old Ricky Flair he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I have Charlotte number 4 if I was allowed to put women on there, but
that Ric Flair is pretty good.
That's what I said to Andretti because I had to run through it and I was like, are we putting women on the list right now?
No, I think my idea whenever we were talking about it initially was that we would do it where we do the men this year since it's not going to change that much. We do the men this year. Next year we do women and tag teams. Then we do men a year later, every 2 years, like the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, fellas, I'm going to head out here. I appreciate everything, Baker. I'll be in touch here, but go Rob Conway. We miss you. I wish you're still in the industry, bud.
Yep. H's and K's, Andretti.
And then this, I'm so glad that we're here now. Because Kane
and it's just you and I too. Oh my God, what a better match for us to have together, huh?
I know. I love this. I have so many notes on this match.
Okay, so I want you to go through your notes. I'll go first and I'll let you do your thing through. So the funny thing with this is that I was watching Raw every week, literally next to Andretti in my living room. And we thought that Kane unmasking was the biggest poop fart. Thought it was so dumb. And then all of a sudden, the same guy that allegedly, ard a corpse, then burns alive an announcer. So all this stuff. But they did do a good job in retrospect. And I'm saying week to week at that time, we were like, what are you doing, man? In retrospect, they did a really good job in trying to make him a crazy person. He looks great here. He looks absolutely great. And baby Mongoose, whenever we were watching all these manias and stuff, Kane's her favorite. And so Kane has a soft spot in my heart. All that being said, I did not I actually popped bigger for Shane O'Mac than I did for Kane when this started because I got a chance to see Here Comes the Money. But I love this match. So go ahead, take us through it.
Yeah, so this feud, I legitimately thought that this was shoot reel because I didn't understand that this is a gimmick business. So this is a Summers long feud that starts whenever Kane unmasks and he attacks Vince and Linda. He's on this crazy wild attacking everybody. And it really ramps up whenever Stone Cold continues to poke and prod him about you're a big monster, you need to be this big monster. And then he lights JR on fire a month or so earlier than this in a sit-down interview, very reminiscent of Mankind and JR. And then before on that same almost in the week before, in between the shows where they're on the build to this, Kane electrocutes Shane's balls on Raw, literally handcuffed him to the ring post, threw water on him, and electrocuted him by his nuts.
The missus was taken aback by that when he attached the jumper cables to the penis. The missus was appalled.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I said, hey, it's a business, honey.
It's a business.
This is the way it goes.
And then the following week after that, then, well, what kind of led to the electrocution was the week before, Shane and Kane are in the back, and Kane gets thrown into a dumpster of fire. And I remember watching that Raw, and I thought that was real. I thought that Kane was burned alive on television. I tried to look so hard today to see like how they maneuvered through that, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming they put like the ring of fire around the top, and he just fell through, so the fire was above him. But I legitimately thought that was so real. And this match, like, they went hell's bells from the beginning with Shane beating the shit out of him with that chair.
That start was great. That was a great start.
It really was. It really set the tempo for the match. And it just, I can only imagine what those chair shots felt, knowing how much Shane potatoes people. And
oh, dude, you know what I was feeling for Kane was when they were going up the ramp before the finish, when Shane's throwing them live rounds and just blasting them in the guts.
Yeah.
Like, as I was just thinking, I was like, poor Kane, dude. He survives all these chair shots and stuff, and his liver's probably just screaming for mercy.
I thought that the coast to coast looked, the usual coast to coast looked good. The one thing that I really liked that they did was that Shane used the boom camera to hit Kane with it, and then the camera glass broke, and then they started using the camera more. I thought that added to it. I thought that was like a nice, cool effect. And then
pushing that announce table was great. The way they shot it,
yes,
because you thought that Shane was under it, but then when he popped out, like, it was shot perfectly.
Yes,
it really was, because it was like, oh, because it really then makes you get behind Shane. Like, I thought that was a really good one too.
Yeah, and then Shane climbs to the top of the set and dives off of it, and it looked stiff as hell. It looked like it hurt so bad.
It very much was not that Jericho bump off of the Hell in the Cell, or not the War Games cage. But I tell you what, man, the thing about it, and this was only me reading it, so me watching that match, I thought it was awesome. I was totally entertained. Thought it was all good. Reading Dave's comments though did actually like sort of irk me with the booking, because what he said was, seeing Shane allowed to look that good and have Monster Kane fail to put him away, but Shane beating himself probably wasn't the way to do things. And in retrospect, that's probably absolutely right. Like, if Shane was going to take that bump, and look, man, I'm not signing people up to jump off of 20-foot high things, but wouldn't it have been better to get pushed off? Like, not even like a choke slam, but like just to have Kane like up there and just push him off so that he could do the trust fall thing just down it. That probably would have been a better way to do it, as opposed to, I'm going to put you away now, Kane, and then I beat myself. So I do actually agree with him there.
That actually does make a lot of sense. That would be the only critique that I could probably add to the match that would make it better.
Because and the reason I feel that I liked Shane getting offense was he was fighting for his family. Right. And because you're fighting for your family, like, it does make sense that you're going to be a crazy person. But if you're going to be pushing this man as a legit crazy monster, then he probably needs to finish as a legit crazy monster. And so, and then Shane still saves face if the only way that he was going to get put down was that he got thrown from the scaffolding, as opposed to, let me jump from it.
Right. I totally agree.
But again, though, I'm not here to book people getting pushed off of 20-foot high things or whatever. But if we could book it the way we wish we could, that's probably it.
Yeah, and then the only thing, the weird thing about this is that it's really, really good, but it's not the best match. The best match comes a Survivor Series. That is the ambulance match, the famous ambulance match, and the two big skits come after this too, where they have the dinner skit where Shane and Kane sit down at a dinner where Kane's in full gimmick in a restaurant.
I don't remember that at all. Oh my God. I need to see this.
You look it up. And then
I don't remember that at all.
The limo spot comes after this too, where Shane throws Kane into the limo, pulls the belt on the gas pedal, and it runs the limo into that semi in the backstage area. That doesn't happen. That hasn't happened yet. That happens like literally a month after this. It's literally the build to Survivor Series.
I'll check this out. Like seriously, I'll check this out. You got me in. This program has me in.
This I don't want to say this is feud of the year, but for 2003, but like Shane and Kane, their feud was fantastic. I would put it over with 5 golden stars for that year because it was some of the most compelling stuff they did. And then we got
getting into not compelling, because I felt like this match was 2 hours long.
The Christian Jericho and RVD one. Yeah, I felt like it went forever. I was ready for it.
Yeah, it wouldn't stop.
They booked this match so quickly too. Like it was kind of out of the blue. Like it looked like they were going to put Christian and Jericho together for 1-on-1, and then all of a sudden they added RVD in there at the end. Like I wasn't a fan of adding. I mean, I thought that it was a good match, but it felt long. Like they could have cut it short. And I don't know if just buying time to get to get him cleaned up from the last man standing match or whatever, but that was just it too. This match was doomed, man. Like nobody made a peep for 10 minutes. Right.
And I think that's what made it feel so long.
Yeah.
That everybody was just sitting on their hands.
Right, because of what they just saw. And then I mean they picked it up at the end. Like I really like the ending sequence where RVD is given the frog splash and Christian pulls the belt on his knees. I like that, but it just felt like the first 10 minutes no one gave a shit because from what they just saw before.
Yep. Yeah. Dave actually gave this 3, and I'd have gone 2.5, and only because the work was good, but I can't say that I was not into this at all. And I was even taking breaks in between matches and stuff. It's not like I was watching this live. And it was just hard to get into, especially at the beginning. So, yeah.
And then probably I thought that this was entertaining, but a lot of people didn't. But it was the Al Snow coach versus Lawler and JR. And this was the winner becomes the Raw commentary team. And if you watch the build to it, the way that coach is so good. Coach is so underrated. I
think I was watching this build thinking that, like, dude, I wish the coach was never in the WWE. I never liked him, never did, never. Oh yeah, he did. Different strokes for different folks, man. But man, he didn't do it for me. I did not like him on commentary. I didn't like him as a backstage announcer. And even as a heel, he wasn't even a heel that like I liked to not like. He was a heel that I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, just like I want to change the channel. Like you change the channel heat with me, not like let me boo you heat.
I would agree with you. So I would totally agree with you leading up to, like, I felt the same way about Coach, but going back and watching him and all those skits that he did with just mocking JR and everything, it was awesome. But
he was really good, and he was good in this match. So you're right there. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I just felt this was so much. It was fun. Like this felt fun. It sucked that JR and Lawler that they lost, but then the funnier part was whenever they go back to the commentary booth and they're just sulking in their honor, and they just that was The only other thing that I have to say about JR on this show is that he mentioned college football about 197 times. And like, we totally, JR loves college football, but at some point, like we're doing a wrestling show, I don't give a shit about what's going on with the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah. And let me see if I have it where it was, because to go to you saying that stuff about Coach, Meltzer made a couple of points about the way that was booked, and I thought that it was really interesting. Basically, while I'm sitting here flipping through things to see if I can find it quickly, basically what it says, and it actually made sense, was that the tough thing about it was that, here we go. So the first time that they did Coachman mocking JR, He said it died a brutal death on Raw as the spoofing got no heat live and it came across as a repeat of Vince Russo's angle, which was no less masturbatory. Worse, this one hurt. This was the third angle to get Ross off of Raw. But the thing about it was that the point that he made in that was that basically what made Ross endearing was those slobber knockers and things like that. And when you have a younger person calling him out for that, you're turning him into like an old coot a little bit, and you're sort of devaluing his, or you're taking away from his credibility in the booth, or devaluing his booth, or his his prowess in the booth whenever he's then announcing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that actually did make sense. And so, I mean, obviously, this is all 2020, hindsight's 2020, especially, this long ago. But at that point in time, I do really get that gripe. But we all know that he was, Vince was trying to get Jim Ross out of it anyways. And so I don't think that he had the foresight to know, oh, we're going to keep bringing this guy back for the next, 6-7 years. And so, it was what it was. But my biggest thing with that match was that it was like, 9 minutes long? So 8:16. So 8:16, no announcing.
That was the rough part about it, was that there was no commentary. It was just dead silence, like just arena ambiance. Like that's all it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that you have guys that, two of which aren't workers, one worker that's in his 50s and one's Al Snow, like,
Yeah.
It's not really easy. And the thing about it is with the finish would have been a lot better if you had an announcer saying, oh my gosh, Jericho said that he's going to play mind games with Austin. That rotten, dirty Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you didn't get any of that.
No.
And so that really took away from that too. One thing I do need to say about this quick though, speaking of, we were talking about old Phil a couple of minutes ago. This was in 2003, obviously. Lawler is about to turn 54, and he just recently gave an interview where he talked about all the guys killing themselves, not having long careers. Oh, I'm sorry. He was talking about all the guys killing themselves and not having long careers, and he was asked if he should give advice. And he said he never gives advice because he remembers being 25 years in wrestling and never listening to the advice of old timers. And so this is Jerry Lawler, who's one of the greatest of all time, in 2003 saying for 25 years, I didn't listen to what anybody told me. And so for that whole thing to start, like, it just goes back to say, like, get over yourself, man.
Yeah.
And that's not just Punk. That's for everybody that ever says, like, these people don't listen to young people. Apparently it's only been happening for 40 years. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was worth bringing it up. So yeah, we had your solemn, sulking. All we can do is just put over the damn main event.
All we can do is put over the damn main event and do our damn job.
Yeah. We're just here to do our damn job and put these damn main eventers over. And I feel sorry for whoever has to sit in this seat next, whatever the hell he said, dude. I was just sitting there and I was just awestruck that they immediately made those two beaten, just sulking souls go back into the booth to then call what was supposed to be the main event of the year.
But yes, this is what's so great is that
this is the biggest program in the company, and you have two guys that just got their asses whipped go back in there and try to call it.
Yes, that's what's so great.
The only thing better would have been if they would have had Coach and Snow go in there to call this match.
That's what
I'd have turned it off. I'd have turned it off.
Couldn't remember if that's what happened. And whenever they won, I was like, oh my God, is Coach and Al Snow going to be commentary for the main event? And then whenever they pan back and it's JR and King, I was like, oh my God, thank the Lord above that they did not put Cole. If they put Cole and Snow on commentary instantly, that would have been hilarious if they would have done that. for the biggest coronation of their star on their supposedly a show.
It is really funny though that happened right after those. Like, you want to talk about more Goldberg sabotage, man. Like, doomed before it started. The two people that are gonna call your main event moment just got a mud hole stomped in them by Al Snow and Jonathan Coachman in for 9 minutes or whatever. Literally immediately before your match starts. They didn't even have time to towel off.
No, they literally.
Oh my.
And this Goldberg trips, the main event was supposed to be, like we've said it a ton of times here, it was supposed to be a huge thing where Goldberg was supposed to be crowned the world heavyweight champion. They showed all of his old matches, like they had clips and everything they were showing every single week leading up to this show, that they would be coming back from commercial break. It was a Goldberg moment, and they kept saying "believe the hype," like that was the big tagline, "believe the hype." And Triple H said the hype ain't real. Like, I mean, Triple H did about as good as he could have done to get a 16-minute match. I believe that's how long it was, around 16 minutes.
14:57 is what I got right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Triple H did about as good a job as you're going to do to get a good Goldberg match, with his limitations with his groin, but it wasn't great, and it fell flat. Jim Ross tried to sell his ass off to make it feel big, but it just felt flat for some reason. And I don't, and
here's
because they killed
go
him.
ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just obvious because they killed him dead at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and I got too excited so I started to talk over you. I apologize for that. But the thing is that entrance, everybody's going nuts. At the beginning, everybody's going nuts. I hate to say, man, this should have been 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
Sure. Like, if he's going to lose, it should have been 3.5 minutes of Triple H jumps him, gives it, like, right at the beginning, gives him a kick to the guts. Goldberg sells for a minute. Whatever. He goes to give him the big knee lift, or whatever, and then all of a sudden it don't hurt him, man. And so, he screams at him, and he throws him, and he spears him, and he jackknifes him. Like, they should have done that match the same way that Goldberg and Hulk match was, because that match, that I don't know, but it couldn't have been 8 minutes long.
No.
And so that, like, because you're getting it back anyways, man. That's just it. Is that I don't understand why they needed to go that long, because they lost the crowd enthusiasm from going that long, from him selling. And then by the time that he won it, like, there was a pop because they saw a title change, but it by no means felt like a changing of the guard. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing about that was like, here's your next champion. It was almost like everybody in the building, even if they weren't internet fans at the time, knew that this wasn't going to last.
Yeah, and then now that I'm thinking about it, this leads to the real formation of Evolution as we remember, because I believe, if my memory serves me right, Triple H comes back and puts the bounty, whenever he comes back after he's done with the movies and the honeymoon and all that, he puts the bounty on Goldberg's head, and that's how he gets the championship back, was because Batista joins Evolution.
That would make sense, because he's not there yet. Obviously, they do have the Evolution music and stuff.
Yeah,
but there is no Batista. You're right about that.
And I
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that just reminded myself about that, and which was a really good angle, going back to getting the belt off of Goldberg, but at the same time, you killed Goldberg dead, and he didn't have the title very long, and the Reign of Terror continued to reign. But 10-year-old me didn't care because Triple H was my favorite, but I'm sure for the rest of the wrestling world, everyone else hated it.
Well, you say the same things that I did whenever I look back at the Hulk Hogan early 90s runs. If I went back and read observers from the early 90s, all of them are going to be panning this, everybody's sick of Hulk Hogan, this is all, this is stupid, blah blah blah. And you're not going to tell me that run wasn't amazing, because it was. Yeah, and so I understand completely where you're coming from there. Like the only difference is that I was in my late teens at the time, and I'm reading the internet all the time and all that stuff. So, like, the difference between our fandom is stark there. But I'm not going to take away your childhood. Like, I completely understand that. Like, to me, that makes all the sense in the world. To this day, I still remember Yokozuna as being this insanely unbeatable, oh my gosh, no one's ever going to have this title again champion. You know what I'm saying? And so he wasn't. There's many other people better than that. But yeah, when I was 10, I totally understand what you're saying.
And I think that is a wrap on Unforgiven 2003. So we hope you enjoyed the retrospective and our talks on the PWI 500 and the Rock's return. And got to thank Teddy Mongoose for hopping on and Andretti. But make sure that you check us out on socials at _Podski on Twitter and Instagram. The Podski with John Baker on YouTube. If you're following along on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what your thoughts are on the PWI 500 or anything that we're doing right now. But yeah, so we thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on the Podski.